I'll call the meeting to order. Brian was having a family issue event, something that he was going to have to attend to. I wasn't sure whether he was going to be able to attend. So with that, we'll kick it off. And if you're going to join me, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, I like that.
That's good.
I pledge allegiance
allegiance
to the flag
Of
of the United States of America, and to the republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice.
and justice for all.
Rob? Now, a short while ago, I sent out the meeting minutes for February. As I said in my email, I couldn't find any evidence in the emails that I had actually sent it out. But one of the challenges that I've had is, like, some stuff goes to my work email, some stuff goes to my home email. And one of the things that I've noticed, if I'm answering on my iPhone, it doesn't seem to get captured in my work email for whatever reason. So if you're sending me things, try to gravitate more towards the home Comcast email, or just send them to both. I'm pretty attentive to email, at all times. Sometimes gets me into trouble, but in any case, I sent out the meeting minutes for February that Rob put together. I thought that they were, comprehensive and accurate. Any discussion on the minutes for those that have had an opportunity to review them? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written. We have a second. Second, Melinda. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none,
Aye.
motion pass. And now we segue to the VSO report.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day in a day in advance. The food bank for Wakefield is tomorrow. Happy St. Patrick's Day again. The Wakefield Food Pantry has donated more dry goods. We got the bags delivered today, which contain various items such as shaving gear, soap, deodorant, and dry goods supplies. We currently have 19 recipients. We're up 2 actually from before. We're up 1. We also have 15 recipients on the Chapter 115. We're up by 2. The latest one is a 99-year-old Coast Guard veteran who's actually doing well. She's doing really well. Hope to have her around for a while. Vietnam Veterans of America organization will be meeting on the last Wednesday of each month at 1 p.m. at a new location, the Dockside Restaurant on Main Street in Wakefield. The organization has opened the membership fee for Vietnam veterans for a free lifetime membership. So if you know any Vietnam veterans that want to join a organization that's local, they'll gladly receive them. New members are always welcome to join. The recertifications for 2021 Chapter 115 clients are proceeding, still waiting on acceptance, making some corrections on a few that I have made errors on, but they're getting fixed and taken care of. Christy and I went out last Saturday and added an additional 5 retailers from Water Street to the Veterans Discount Program, mostly restaurants, and a couple of beauty salons. The flags for Memorial Day have been purchased and stored away. Thank you, Karen Burke and Jay, for that. That's great. They're at the Senior Center. We have enough to carry us, I believe. And we got them in. Thanks, Jay, for getting them in early. I understand some places are having difficulties getting them even. I got a call from a concerned citizen whose uncle, Gerald Scott, and 2 other Korean War veterans, Edward Muse and Richard Marson, who have a memorial bronze tablet dedicated at the high school on Farm Street for making the ultimate sacrifice during the Korean War will or can be cleaned, perhaps through a grant, and reinstated when the new high school is built, hopefully within 5 years. They don't want it. She was asking that we do not let it be sent to the middle school, but remain at the high school, a memoriam, as it was when dedicated by the Prisoners of War Committee of Wakefield in 1955.
Dave, is
Those
that,
veterans seeking out enrollment in the VA healthcare system for vaccinations at the various centers around Boston VA facilities, they're accepting all ages at this time, but once again, they must be enrolled in the VA healthcare system. For the Wakefield community, they can call my office and arrange for a one-on-one meeting to fill out the forms, and I will send them along to the VA. With the stress and strain on veterans' mental health from the isolation as a result of COVID, the coordinator for the Greater Boston has provided us with an outreach. For any mental health information at the VA Boston, please contact Kyle Toto. And I have the website here if anyone needs it. And he'll help point you in the right direction. Once again, the suicide hotline number is 1-800-273-8255. And that concludes it.
thank you. Dave, I went down to high school. Is the plaque for Mr. Scott and the other two gentlemen inside the high school?
It should be, yes. I'm going to make arrangements to go down there next week, try to locate it and take a good look at, take some pictures of it and see what the plan is in place.
Yeah, and maybe it's, well, we can discuss that in another point. Any other questions, concerns, comments on Dave's report? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to accept it as written.
Second.
Jackie? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you. But we have, the one Veterans Corner article in the well. I didn't receive any feedback from members of the community or anything like that, which is fine. I did send out another draft this morning. It's actually pretty much the same article that I placed last year as a letter to the editor. The information that's contained in it is still accurate. We're still futzing with COVID, et cetera, et cetera. And we've made some contacts with the national organization. Some of you may or may not be aware there's a 50th commemoration that's 4 years old that a national organization was set up. And I called them today. It must be part of DOD because an Army Master Sergeant answered the phone. And it's a commemoration of Vietnam veterans, but they don't differentiate between Vietnam veterans who were in country and people that they refer to as Vietnam veterans who were stateside, which is me. They used to be referred to as Vietnam era veterans, but for this purpose of this commemoration, they're getting rid of that notation because in their view, we all had our jobs to do. Some of us were in country, some of them not, and could have been in Germany, et cetera, et cetera. So for the purposes of this commemoration, it's like, they set the big time frame up till and including 1975 so that anybody could take part in it. Wakefield and a number of other communities have had ceremonies in the pre-COVID days where we presented lapel pins and certificates to the veterans. Wakefield, we did one at the football game, which was, I think, very well received by the community that was at the football game. we could certainly recruit, I'm not sure recruit is the right word, seek Vietnam veterans in order to have our own commemoration again. And that could be as simple as individual ceremonies. We could have a Zoom ceremony, etc. So, again, part of this would be to ask Vietnam veterans to reach out to Dave's office, and then we will consolidate a list and take it from there. We had books. There was a time to honor book that was put together. It was very well done. And again, the lapel pins, etc. So the Veterans Day is March 29th. So hopefully we can formalize another Veterans Corner article to have placed in the item by the 29th. Okay. Is everyone fine with having the next Veterans Corner article focused on Vietnam Veterans Day for the 29th? I think we got some feedback from our folks earlier. Certainly seems reasonable. And Jackie, thanks for bringing that up. It's very important that we continue to welcome Vietnam veterans home and acknowledge them, because they're getting up there. They're in the late 60s, 70s, etc. So although it's not old, it's they're getting up there. And so
Jay, I think we had a picture taken last year of like 3 of us in front of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial on the Common. I don't know if you'd want to use that. I think Dave was in it, I was in it, and somebody else.
I don't have that. If you have it and can share it, we'd certainly do that. And as was mentioned today, I have pictures of all 5 of them that and I went, Paul shared the link to the virtual wall. So I went and downloaded the data on each of the men, as is kind of typical of, probably wars in general. I mean, they're all young. All of them weren't in country for very long before they were lost. Months, I think the most was like 6 months before they were lost. So we can include their pictures in the article with, birth date, date of death, etc. If we choose to.
Okay, the DVD that's on the back of the Time to Honor book, I'm wondering if WCAT would like to run that throughout the day, maybe on Vietnam Veterans Day. I'll talk to them.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind reaching out to Barbara Worley.
Yeah, I will.
And maybe she'll just ask you to share a copy of it. I don't know if you can.
Absolutely, I have one. I have 2 of them actually.
Yeah, I have a number of extra books also. With that, I'll certainly move forward, and I'll share drafts as we move forward. Probably have, a week plus to get it together, and then think about what the article would be for April. Okay. Anything else on Veterans Corner?
If Barbara Worley approves of doing that, would we want to put that in the Veteran Corner for folks to keep an eye out for it?
Certainly, if we know by then, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll work on that this rest of this week, tomorrow and Thursday.
Yeah, I thought the media was very well done on that program.
It was very
I
good.
didn't hear back from the gentleman at Chelsea Soldiers Home, so I'll circle back with him tomorrow on the books. While I'm out riding around delivering food, maybe I could swing over to Chelsea.
Wow.
Okay, thank you. How about the Veterans Discount Program update?
Sure. Christie, you want to take that? Or you want me to cover it?
You can do it. You talk better.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Did you get the
Well,
updated list?
We're going to hopefully go out again next Saturday. I'm going to get back to Christie on a timeline. And we have a list. We've got like 55, I think, right now that are, if they're not already involved in it, they're interested in it. There are quite a few decals on the doors around town. I've noticed at least 4 of them this week alone. And the decals are working. I'm going to do a follow-up in about a month to see what kind of reaction people have given them. I noticed a couple of the pet stores on Albion Street have the decals on the doors. A lot of veterans have service dogs, or family members have a service dog, or maybe a cat. I don't know. But I think it's doing very well, and I'd like to see this actually. If it steamrolls where I'd like to see it go, like a snowball going down a hill, get bigger and bigger and end up as a national program. That's my objective with it, but it's going to take time, but I think it can be done exponentially once business start telling business. We get advertisements between the WCAT and the community, and then on radio stations and television stations. I have access to a couple of radio stations that I can plug in, but once I get that going, it's going to be secured well within the town.
Any interest in publicizing the discount program for the April Veterans Corner article?
I think that could happen. Yeah, what is it going to be, the end of April or middle of April?
Well, theoretically, what we had spoken about is having the article ready prior to our meeting so we can discuss it, edit it beforehand, and then approve the article at this meeting.
So it'll be April's meeting, we approve it then.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can do that.
We'll have
What
to
do you
go out
think?
2 more times, David.
No, at least. Yeah. We don't want people getting left out and saying, why didn't you come to me?
I also
Well,
got a list
basically.
of, I sent it to you, David. I bet
got it.
1,000 businesses that are on the Chamber of Wakefield. So at least
Great.
now we have a list of names. We can just start sending email, even if we don't make them face to face.
Right.
Some places might not be as local, but we can make contact.
That's great. And we can send that letter, attach
Yes.
it as that email, and we can get that'd be great, Christie. That's wonderful. Thank you.
So the April meeting is April 20th. So basically, to give us time to review the article before the meeting, we have a month. So by like April 16th, if we have, a draft or two, around to folks for their review, so that it gives a month. And again, it doesn't, personally, I'd rather not hold short for a few more people to sign up. You guys have already killed it. But let's get it out there so you can drive more people to it. Because there's always going to be somebody who doesn't get the word, if they're not signed up, no problem, sign up. And
Say that in the article,
and one of the things that we can do is we can put information about the program on the Wakefield Veteran Services tab on the town's website.
Jay, could I ask through you to Dave if he could talk to Judy Luciano up the senior center and run a small article on the discount program in the senior monthly little bulletin that they have?
Yeah. I'll talk to Judy this week. Yeah.
They work side by each, so. I know I get a lot of business, quote unquote, from the senior center bulletin that's put out in Saugus. As that hits a lot of people, a lot more people that don't necessarily have access to a computer.
They have a snippet in there about my office in there and veterans benefits to apply, to call my office. It's only 3 lines, but I'm sure we could use that in that section. She'll make it bigger. I'll talk with her.
Okay. Great, thank you. Anything else on the discount program? All right, segue to the state grant. Has anyone had any proposals, any new thoughts on the state grant program? Time is running short, and once again, as I understand it, the town has to have committed funds to the project as part of the grant.
Jay, on the grant, on the bronze plaque that we have at the high school, if we find it, would I have to put together a letter asking for funding for that grant, from that grant, to help clean that up and get it resituated properly?
Well, that was a thought I had, but you know, because I went by the Greenwood School the other day, and the plaque that's in front on the stone in front of that is all green and weathered, and the same is true with the stones down at Forest Glade. You know, the ones on the common are in good shape. The ones on the Rockery were refurbished a couple of years ago. You know, because that seems like something that would be perfect for that grant application. You know, refurbishment, some of it seemed to be looking for archiving and, you know, more data type of stuff. But, you know, as I said, I'm not going to have any time to dedicate to that project. So someone else wants to lead that. God bless you.
I'm happy to help draft it. We just need a viable idea that the town buys into.
Yep.
Do we know if they already pay for the cleanup of monuments? Do they have a fund? Would they be doing this anyway?
No. To the best of my knowledge, when I met with Mr. Mayo and Mr. Dombrowski last month, I asked if there were any projects planned, and that's when they brought up the courts down at Vets Field. Nothing else was planned. And to the best of my knowledge, there isn't a line item in a budget for the refurbishment of memorials.
That would be good, Jay, because we could also plug in that high school plaque and a list of all the different areas as one package.
Yeah, but, you know, time is running short.
Yeah.
Because I think I don't have the paper in front of me, but I thought the due date for grants was April 9th or sometime in early April. I'm not sure.
What if we sent in a request pending something like that, just as long as it's in the door, something like that?
They're usually very strict.
Yeah, it's either cooked or not.
Okay.
And, you know, and my hope is that they get lots of applications for these grants, and, you know, incomplete applications and/or applications without matching funds seems like they would be easy to pull from the herd. But again, you know, if we can put something together, you know, that would be awesome.
And it's all about preservation. So
yeah,
has to be historically significant and enhance something existing. So I guess, could I just reach out to Ed and ask what the city's appetite to fund, you know, would be and propose?
My recommendation would be to go to Mr. Mayo.
I just don't know him.
Good time to meet him. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's as simple as an email.
Yeah. Do you have
Yeah.
his email address? Can you send it to me and I'll send that
Yeah.
out tomorrow? I'm out of town next week, but I don't think it's going to take a long time to
Yeah.
Right up.
He's very easy to work with. He's very
He-
receptive.
He has been supportive of anything that I've
Right.
gone to him. Like, when we did the project down into Galvin, he never questioned anything.
Yeah.
What do you need? Get it. What do you need? Get it. How much? Do it. Never questioned anything.
So on the execution of the project, do we have a contractor or someone that we know could handle this?
I want to say last time it was done with Woodlawn Memorials. They're in Everett. But one of the things that I had intended to do and have not done, because it was the refurbishment of the markers on either side of the walker at the rockery, was publicized in the item. And I did a search and nothing came up. So I was going to reach out to Mark Sardella because he covered it and put some pictures and stuff in there, to see if we can find out. And I'll do that.
Is it the stone by the fountain?
No, on either side of behind the walker is the large rock outcropping.
Yeah.
On either side of that are bronze markers.
They look like a cross.
Yes, they were
Yeah,
all.
I did that.
They were all. You know who did that?
That was done by the Wakefield Center Neighborhood Association, WCNA. And I
No.
think they made those in some type of plastic because somebody had stole the bronze ones.
Oh,
But it was John Leone headed that project, I believe, in Wakefield.
okay.
They were just afraid that somebody was going to grab the bronze again, so they made them in some type of plastic. It was a hard plastic or vinyl.
Okay. They look good. They look nice. But again, time is of the essence. So I'll see what I can find out.
Yeah, and if anyone has photos of what we're talking about or is walking around, send them over to my email.
Jay, I also, maybe for next year, one of those projects that would probably use up maybe the $20,000 if we could match it. And that's something that's missing from the common for a long time. And maybe we could get that back in place, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we've kicked that football so far down the street. I don't even
Well-
want to talk about it anymore. Because it's like a unicorn. We're referring to a cannon.
Missing
Right?
cannon.
Right.
Yeah, it's a unicorn. No one can tell me where it is.
I know
Yeah.
where it is. I know where all of it is, but it's just that it would be the restoration of it.
Where is it?
Then it's in pieces, but it would have to be restored. And I think that would cost for some kind of a historical, quite a few $1,000s.
Well, this is up to 20, up
Yeah.
to 50%
Yeah,
of the
that's what
project
I mean.
cost.
Maybe next year or something, I can look into it.
Well, I think if nothing else, because this is at least the second time that I can recall that this grant program has come up, and we always kind of lose sight of it, and we end up short stroking it because we can't act quickly enough. Fiscal year is July 1. So even if we're not able to get something put together in the next 3 weeks, maybe we can get a line item, if there isn't one, or some sort of funding for memorial restoration with an eye towards being able to apply for this grant next year. Because I think this is an annual event.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So, even if we can't get something together this year, maybe we come up with a potential project list over the next couple of months. And, we can go around and we can take pictures of all of these memorials and say this, I know that ones that I mentioned earlier, they're degraded quite a bit because they are bronze or whatever it is. They're green and illegible, et cetera, et cetera. But, if we can get 10, 20,000 from the state for it, let's go for it.
That might make more sense just to give us the time to put
Yeah.
it together instead of trying to, like poor Melinda, trying to rush everything and get everything all put together in the short amount of time we have.
Yeah, especially if you're traveling, next week.
Right.
Next
gonna
week,
be
but
able-
I don't know how tough this is even going to be. I mean, I don't know how lengthy it has to be.
This way you can find out more information on what exactly you need and get it all pulled together and put it towards next year if we can get the line item put in.
Yeah.
I don't know if what kind of information is available through the site to see if we can get a handle on historical projects, what they look like, what they seem to favor.
We know we have a list of the previous Veterans Heritage grants.
Mhm.
Right.
And, there's some as simple as restoration of a memorial grove, which is interesting because it says no green spaces or no public, flag poles or green spaces.
Right.
So I don't know, memorial grove signals to me that it's trees. So that sort of contradicts itself. But the Newburyport Maritime Society had restoration of the USS Richard S. Bull model ship. USS Massachusetts Memorial Committee revitalization and update of the Korean and Vietnam War memorials on board the USS Joseph Kennedy Jr. Charitable trust, fabrication and installation of display cases and pedestal stands, modification of display cases, restoration of ornamental features for the Military Museum and Armory on the 4th floor of Faneuil Hall. Belmont had renovation of veterans memorials. Gloucester funding display case for Civil War uniform at Gloucester High. So that's very simple. That's, Friends of Mount Auburn, restoration of grave markers. So I just don't get the impression that there's a ton of action. So it is an opportunity, right?
Getting the foot in the door, I
Right.
think, Melinda, is the biggest aspect of part of this. I think within the because they're not going to run out and do it right away. I don't think they'll probably collectively get information from us as to what we want to do. If the title of what we want has a list of, say, 5 or 6 different areas like we're discussing tonight, then photographs to you would be good to have as far as what they might request. Well, do you have photos of what you want us to get into? That's,
Yeah,
Melinda, it may be as easy as, in response to your email from Mr. Mayo, he says, we can come up with 20,000, whatever, you know what I mean?
yeah.
If theoretically, there's this grant, we have, a few projects for memorial restoration. There's a cannon that needs to be put back together, but it's a matching grant. So the town would have to come up with about 20K. Do you see any flexibility in the town budget to have us pursue this in this fiscal year? Tax revenues down, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
And again, as Marion said, he's very responsive to
Right.
things like this around town.
Yep. Okay, great. If he says go for it, I think it would be good to get a foot in the door. I just downloaded the application and it looks like a very, it's not difficult. I mean, you need a letter of commitment documenting and indicating approvals and permissions to complete the proposed project have been obtained. Letters of support from the community letters of commitment for matching funds and in kind. If we're doing construction, we need an assessor's map or a legally recorded plot plan or surveys and photographs. And I mean, but the photographs would support that. Probably need to get an idea of project costs prior from somebody that does this, but it doesn't look like it's not, compared to some of the grants I've worked on in the past. I mean, we got a grant to set up a student center at Fisher when I worked there. You know, this isn't a ton of heavy lifting. And then there's another institutional re-grant program that they do. So once you're in, you know, you can look to do more. And it's not obvious on their website where the link to the grant application is. I had to do a little digging to find it. So that makes me think that even less people are going to be applying, which increases our chances. So
it's part of the puzzle. If you can negotiate the website, you're in.
right.
Okay, well, thanks. And I'll do a little digging too, and I'll get back to see what we can. I mean, I would gladly reach out to Mr. Mayo if you'd like me to.
I don't mind. I'd like to introduce myself, and I'm happy to.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Sure.
Jay, do you think that we could reach out to the new economic development officer in Wakefield? I think she just got hired about 2 months ago. But I know you're talking economic, but a beautiful common like we have brings in people into the town. And maybe she could help out as far as grant writing or something, or who to talk to. But when you talk to Steve at Town Hall, maybe you can talk to her too.
Yeah. Yep. You know, and one thing that we've brought up over the years is there's nothing on Veterans Memorial Common denoting it as such.
Yeah.
You know, we had talked about a couple of granite posts, suspending a sign that denotes it as Veterans Memorial Common, and we never got much past the talking stage on that.
How pricey is that?
I honestly don't know.
The grant's not for new things though, right? They have to be existing.
Yeah, it's a sort of a preservation
No,
focus. I'm just thinking like if we're talking to Mr. Mayo anyway.
yeah, I mean, you know, one of the things that we
Throw
did
it on.
a number of years ago was we had a couple of quotes on refurbishing the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial, the very large Civil War vintage. All right, yeah. I mean, that one quote was $500,000 on that.
Yeah.
Because it's missing hands and it's old, et cetera, et cetera. So you know, there are some projects, but you know.
Can we just replace one finger at a time and put it, you know, do it year by year?
We need a sculptor.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think the other thing was that they were going to tie up the common for about 2 years. And it was a question of rebuilding it right there on the upper common of Veterans Memorial Common, or taking it back to Vermont where it was originally the granite was from. A big project.
I think we had a little scope creep on that one, and the price kept going up. So, yeah, as Marion mentioned earlier, even if it's a little late for this year, you know, maybe we can certainly have this ready to pull the trigger on next year when grants are due. Okay. More to follow on that. Memorial Day. You know, it's March, but it's going to be May before we know it. To the best of my knowledge, no modification has been made to the direction that we have to have something quote unquote virtual. We won't be having the large ceremony in the Galvin. One thing that I haven't proposed, but I was thinking of the other night when I was not sleeping was, you know, could we do it in the Galvin with no audience, just a handful of presenters, number of clergy, and do it as we would, well, with the notable exception of the musical accompaniment. We could have, something typed in.
Maybe WCAT would bring music like they did.
Yeah.
Wasn't it
Yeah.
recorded in the past? Couldn't we do a replay?
Well, one of the things that they will probably do anyhow is run historical Memorial Day programs throughout the day,
Okay.
not the weekend. And for Veterans Day, Paul and David taped some 2 or 3 minute little talks. They aired those. There's nothing to say that, members of this board, if they would like, couldn't do something similar, what Memorial Day means to me type of thing. I have to reach out to Barbara Worley anyhow, because one of the things I was going to propose to her is running. One of the things that we referred to the guys that are outside Veterans Memorial Auditorium at the Galvin, we referred to them as the Galvin Fallen Heroes. I have all of their remastered photos in PDF form, I think. One of the things that I could do is I could create one massive PowerPoint presentation, have each one of them on a slide with their name, etc. Because I don't have a PDF writer, so I wasn't able to put like a text box on their photo to say who it is. I went through a few weekends ago and I retitled all the files. I numbered them according to how they were in the old Galvin. And we could do something and have that slideshow running on Memorial Day. I at the risk of committing them to something, having not spoken to them, and we do have some time, I'm almost certain that WCAT would show up and do the same thing on the Common that they did for Veterans Day. I don't know what we're going to be limited to as far as numbers. What is it now, 25 for outdoor, 50? I don't even know what it is now. It could be 100 by Memorial Day. It could be back in school by Memorial Day. So again, I don't know if the Galvin is completely, totally out of the question. Parades certainly seem to be out of the question at this point. So, maybe we have a parallel path that we need to plan for, one being the Common, one being the Galvin. Same participants, if you will. We could have a member of clergy, we could have a guest speaker if we want, etc. And I will reach out to the American Legion to make sure that they know about it, so I don't get accosted walking downtown by a member of the Legion. I'm not letting them know. So, I think we do have some time. But, the one thing that we always end up scrambling for is a guest speaker. And I think a member of this board could certainly be the guest speaker. I know that I've certainly done it often enough, and I certainly like to share the wealth. So keep that in mind. But I'll reach out to WCAT, give them a heads up, see where they are on this, and then by April we'll have to start putting some firm plans together. Again, that could still be on a parallel path. You know, if we're bare bonesing it at Veterans Memorial Common, or if we're allowed to go in the Galvin.
Hey, Jay, 2 points. You got an opportunity on Memorial Day. It may not be a bad idea to read names publicly, public forum, either on CAT, on cable network. You can do it outside, read the names that are on the World War II memorial as part of a ceremony. You can read the names in the Galvin also as part of that ceremony indoors, or you can do a combination of both.
Certainly could.
It's a lot easier than getting the picture, photograph, and putting it on a loop. Okay.
PowerPoint.
Standing there reading 111 names doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
No, but if you break it up amongst ourselves, that's, that would include us in that ceremony, perhaps.
Well,
and maybe members of the Legion could help read, 5 or 10 names at a clip.
And certainly one of the things that we could do is break it up by conflict. I think,
Yes.
We have some, at least according to what I was kind of able to back into, I think I have the last World War I KIA and the last World War II KIA, both Vietnam and Korea are kind of finite numbers. And we have one from the Desert Shield, Desert Storm era, and one from the Global War on Terror. So we could certainly break it up by era, if you know what I mean. And,
Yeah, I'm sure Nancy Bertrand's got some from the Civil War too.
Well, none that were on the Galvin Wall.
Not the Galvin Wall, but in the Memorial Walk.
We have, and that would be good to know, because we have one that I believe is from the Spanish-American War.
Yeah.
I forget his name off the top of my head. But we could certainly reach out to Ms. Bertrand. Because I don't even think there are no names on the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial, correct?
I don't know that for a fact.
It's worth an email, Paul, if nothing else. You know what I mean?
I can find her. I know where she lives.
Yeah. It's an easy question to ask, and you know what? I've had these discussions with local people and with people in Saugus, and today with people in Melrose. No good deed goes unpunished. You forget one person, and we went through it. Rick Pearson, who's not on the call, knows it about the World War II Memorial on the Common. People were up in arms that names weren't on there, et cetera, et cetera. It happened in Saugus because somebody could have spent 100 years in Saugus, but unless Saugus was their home of record when they enlisted, they didn't go on the wall. Same in Wakefield. And it created a fair bit of controversy. So we'll do the best we can. We'll cast a wide net as we can, and we certainly would never intend to leave anybody out.
No, and I think the answer to that is you kind of answered it. There's a process. Maybe there is a family that would like to get somebody that was overlooked, and there is a process to go ahead and do that.
Yeah. And I certainly think that, what I'm kind of mushing around with another talking point in the agenda. The hope is that prior to Veterans Day, we can do more outreach to get names of veterans, et cetera. I think Jackie asked the question about a database or any data that we have on veterans in town. The only thing that I've been able to find here and in Saugus is our data from the town clerk's office that is self-reported on the census. And I think in Wakefield, we have 800, what did I say, 844 veterans that identified on the census. I don't remember. But
Well,
so-
actually, when you talk to the American Legion, that's a question you ought to ask them. And they may have a prospect list broken down by town.
yeah, it's certainly a question to ask. I can reach out to Bill Walsh or John Bowling.
Yeah.
Is they're kind of hurting for manpower, but I'm not sure how active they are anymore. But again, it's a question to ask.
All the veterans groups, I think, short people, and I know the Vietnam veterans there were losing people left and right all the time, and I don't know what's going to become of even the Vietnam veterans were thinking about joining in with another group, merging together. It's getting so bad.
I think that's kind of the problem that a lot of fraternal organizations are facing. Whether it's Masons, the Elks, certainly VFW, Legion. When I go to the VFW or the Legion, I'm the youngest person there, which is frightening because we're not seeing some younger faces on my screen now. But when you go to the Legion or the VFW, you're not seeing those younger faces.
No.
Yeah.
And Marion, I don't know how the West Side Social Club is doing for membership, whether they're.
It's pretty, we have some young guys there, but I think that we don't have a lot of them. A lot of what's down there are those of us who've been doing stuff for years and we're all getting older. So
Yeah. I think the same thing is true with the 3 Cs.
we do have some young people coming in, but I just think the young veterans it's not their thing to go and join like the VFW, the
Yeah.
American Legion. It's just not their thing, which is too bad.
A lot of them, I had the same problem in the VFW. I'm on the board in Cambridge. And one of the problems we were having was getting the recruited into the club. But we found that a lot of them that were coming in was saying to us that, well, I have to have 2 jobs to pay the mortgage, run the family and everything, and the time is not available. And a lot of it has to do with time configurations.
Yeah.
Right.
For the meetings and everything. So we're going to make adjustments and start looking at what they want to give us for information to satisfy a larger input or feedback, so to speak. So.
Yeah, I mean, hearing that is kind of more comforting than hearing some of the things that I've heard historically, where younger guys go into the VFW looking, for some camaraderie, et cetera, and get met by the grumpy old veteran who, says everything was always tougher in the old Corps. You guys don't know what you're doing, et cetera. And they just turn around and leave.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to listen to that stuff.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I've heard that too.
Well, the good news is, Jay, most of this is largely due to the fact that the all-volunteer force in the current military is a lot smaller than it was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's actually a good thing.
I am part of a Legion. I just literally, just like you said, there is no time for me to go with the work, the kids. It's impossible. And I did run into the grumpy old veteran. Oh, it's so much, but I just gave it right back, just like I was back in the service. So it was second nature for me. I wish I could go more often. I do, but.
Well, and then there is that percentage of the population that's just looking for a place to drink, or a cheaper place to drink.
True.
And that comes with risks also. So we're not going to solve all the world's problems for fraternal organizations, but
No.
at least if we can continue to get information out on the street, maybe we'll drive more people into Dave's office or to participate in events around town, or go into the businesses that are offering discounts, et cetera, et cetera.
Jay, you mentioned that you might be able to get some more of the Vietnam books at all. I was going to ask Marion if she could use a couple of cases of them at the social club. That's the time to honor Vietnam veteran books.
I could take some of them down and see how they go first and see if I can. I'd be happy to do that.
I'll keep
Absolutely.
in touch with you next week, okay?
Okay, that's fine.
When I hear back from my contact at the Soldiers Home about how many cases he has access to.
Thanks, Jay.
I can also talk to them at the Elks and see if maybe they would like to put some out. If
Well,
you'd like
that'd
me
be
to do
good.
that too, Dave, I could do that. I'm a
That'd be
member
great.
of both places, so
That'd be
You
great.
go down the
Actually, we
Three
put out
Seas,
300,
I don't, do I
350
go
of
down
them
the
at the
Three
post office.
Cs?
Yeah.
I do. I
Yeah.
do go down to the Three Cs, believe it or not. I
Yeah.
haven't been down there except for Council of Clubs meetings. I haven't been
Yeah.
down there, but I used to get down on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
One of my girlfriends would go down with me. Because of the bartender. We love the bartender down there on Wednesday nights. Most of the time, it's the last place I would go. Because for a long time, we weren't welcome there at all. But now they're allowing the women to go in there. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're like all the other clubs. They're losing members left or right, and they'll take anybody now. But
Okay.
yeah, I go to all of them. I could take it to the Three Cs too. I have no problem doing that. And they are very, very big promoters of the veterans. So, that might be another place. Just let me know, Dave. I'll take them to all of them. I have no
Once
problem
we
with
get
that.
once he lands the question from from his contact.
Okay.
All right,
Sounds good.
cool. More to follow on Memorial Day, that's for sure. Dan, anything on the project down at Vetsfield?
The only thing I have to report on that is I sent a letter out to, or an email out to Steve Mayo and showed him a picture of what we had, the concept of it, the sign. And I haven't heard anything back from him. I've talked to Dennis Fazio a couple of times, updated some things. We made the color of the sign rather than a fire engine red, more or less like the color of the top of the kiosks in Wakefield.
Yeah.
It's kind of maroon color. And also rather than white post, it would be a granite, what do you call them, balusters?
Yeah.
It up.
Okay.
But I haven't heard anything back because I know they have a lot going on at Vetsfield come this spring with that turning the tennis court into pickleball courts and doing a lot of construction. So whether we can tie this in with all of that, but I haven't heard anything since. You might send him an email or something.
I mentioned it to him in the meeting that I had with him also. And that's when he started speaking about the pickleball courts and stuff like that. I know they do have a lot of.
Which it being Veterans Field, and it used to be the tennis courts here, maybe we could think about naming some of those pickleball courts after some veterans. It's all part of the same.
The Dan Benjamin pickleball court.
Hey, it's
I
the
didn't know what
fastest
pickleball
growing.
was till I just looked it up.
You know, I didn't know what it was until about 5 years ago when a guy that I worked with retired to Florida and came back raving about it. Now everyone's playing it.
The modern shuffleboard, I guess.
Yeah, I don't understand I guess, yeah, but that's a talk for another day.
My parents play it in California. It's
Yeah.
very popular among retirees.
Good exercise, it looks like.
Yeah. Okay. We'll follow on that. So the Main Street banners. Let me tell you where we are on that. I gave Mr. Mayo, I dropped off a flash drive with the information that I was referring to earlier about with the Galvin Fallen Heroes on it. And he plans to present it to the town council at their meeting on March 22nd. And it appears at this point, the banners may be limited. The pictures on the banners may be limited to those 111 people from the Galvin. And in conjunction with that, we need to solicit input locally on veterans' names, photos, etc., with an eye towards Veterans Day and expanding it to Greenwood, etc., and having flag banners, just flags, in other places along Main Street. So he's going to be running with that in the short run.
So now because I wasn't at the meeting last month, unfortunately, so I'm just kind of getting information on it as I read the minutes. So what you say now is that the only ones that they're going to put the pictures up for are the ones from the Galvin?
It's the way it seems to be at this point.
Okay,
I
that's,
think
I just wanted to clarify that.
I think the thought was, let's keep it kind of small and manageable,
Okay,
and then expand it from there. Because that's during that conversation, it came up about, God forbid we forget somebody or whatever have you. And
Yeah.
it's easier to tell a story. Well, this is what we chose to do. And then we're going to expand upon it from there.
okay.
Hey, Jay, the only request that I have, I don't know if John Galvin is one of those 111.
He is not. These are people that were killed in action.
Okay.
In that case, Jay, I've got those 3 Korean veterans that I got their pictures here, but
I have pictures on all of them,
okay.
except for a gentleman that died in Texas, which runs afoul of the KIA thing. All we have is his name and that he was killed in Texas from World War I. That's all we know. We don't know if he was evacuated and died in a hospital there. A couple of years ago, some people tried to do some research and came up to dead ends. So if you go down, if we ever get to go down the Galvin, there's one picture at almost the very beginning that it's just a plaque with a guy's name on it and date of death.
I agree with Paul. I think the town would probably be open to adding one name, being General Galvin, to the list of a 111. And that doesn't necessarily mean we've got to consider all veterans, but he's obviously a special guy in town.
No, it's just slippery slope.
I'd like to think he could stand on it without going down.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
And the other one is, I don't remember his first name, but Scott, the KIA that's missing, or not the KIA, the MIA that's missing. Is he
He's on
one
there.
of those? He's
Yeah.
on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that Gerald Scott?
yes.
Yes.
And then Edward Muse. and
Yeah,
Richard-
Edward Muse is one too, yeah.
Yeah, Richard Moran.
Okay. More to follow on that. Any other business?
Jay, I just wanted to ask on the speaker, is there something that you're specifically targeting? Like, what are the criteria ideally?
Speaker for Memorial Day?
Yeah.
Somebody who's not going to get very political, as we were chastised for that on at least two occasions. We had 2 speakers, I think, in a row that went a little off the rails.
Yeah.
One kind of advocated striking a child who chose
Advocated what, did you say?
striking a child who chose not to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yikes.
Sounds like a
And-
General Patton thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
and another that went so far afield, nobody could figure out what he was actually speaking about.
Okay. And would you be able to, could we give the speaker a theme?
It's, Memorial Day.
Yeah, but like what it means to you or.
Memorial Day and me.
Okay. I have 2 ideas I can send around. How about?
Okay, cool.
All right.
Presumably there's written remarks if you're gonna, I mean, you could always say that we have to have, somebody has to have a look at them in advance.
Yeah.
That's a great
There
idea.
needs to be an approval process first.
We did
Talking
that.
points.
We did that after we got into trouble. And if you know the late Bill Chetwynd, he was the speaker that followed the 2 swings and misses. And he did a fantastic job, as Bill always did with everything that he ever did. True gentleman. Yes, so we did have the speaker submit remarks that I didn't even have to edit it. And I think I spoke after that. So I know.
Well, if
Jay,
if we can't get anybody, I'll volunteer, but.
Yeah, we also don't want a ceremony that's going to take 3 hours.
Hey, with the year we've gone through, maybe we should, think about somebody in the medical field and, an Army or Navy doctor or nurse.
Well, Karen Burke, the district director, is a retired Air Force Light Colonel flight nurse. If she spoke in Wakefield, it was a long time ago. I think we had her. She might have spoke on the commemoration. I'm not sure. I will see her tomorrow, and I will certainly broach the subject. That's a good idea.
I was also thinking about, do you know Brendan Crichton? He's the state senator for Lynn, Linfield, Marblehead, Saugus, Swampscott, Nahant. No. He does a lot for veterans. I don't know if he's actually a veteran, but the guy who runs my boxing gym is a former Marine, younger guy, and he was recently published in the paper for helping veterans. He goes around and delivers food, just sleeping bags. He just drives around and gives them to homeless veterans and just does a ton. Really great guy. Anyway, Brendan, the state senator, saw his information in the paper, laminated the article, and just sent him randomly, hasn't met him, a thank you for everything you do note in the mail to the gym. So both of those guys I was
Awesome.
thinking there might be a candidate there.
Yeah, and I've reached out to the police department, fire department, asking for speakers. Really didn't get. Some of them would show and be in the audience, but they didn't want to speak.
Yeah, the state senator is an adjunct at, I think, Endicott. So he's used to public speaking, and based on what I've seen from his Facebook page and his LinkedIn, he's out there a lot, very comfortable. So he'd probably be a safe bet. And
the only problem with politicians is they tend to go on.
Yeah.
But that, and on the one hand, that's a good problem to have. Because
for a virtual event.
Yeah. Well, the ceremonies tend to get a little long, and that's why some of our local politicians have, God bless them, have kept it short when they've been able to show. Senator Lewis, Rep. Broder, Rep. Wong, when they've been able to come. They've kept it short and sweet, which is always appreciated. Cool. Well, more to follow. I'll continue to ask what the guidance is And again, I think short-term would probably have to consider a parallel path. I can reach out to Rabbi Greg up at the temple. It's been a few years since we put the arm on him to be a clergy member. We tried to spread it around to the different parishes and houses of worship in town. Got in trouble for that one year. I got a complaint from a townsperson who thought that the member of clergy was too religious, too, I guess too religious is the way to say it.
Apparently, they've never been in the foxhole, Jay. They've never been under fire where religion becomes a partner.
Well, we live in an age where too many of us are outraged, too many of us are offended, and it kind of is what it is. As I said earlier, no good deed goes unpunished. We can only try to do the best we can. Never intend to slight anybody or forget anybody.
Like John Lennon said, imagine if.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, one last thing, Jay, did we have any decision on the new gentleman that wanted to join the?
Hey, thank you, Jackie.
Oh, it's not Jackie, but I have another meeting I have to go to. Sorry, I have to go.
Bye,
Bye.
Jackie.
Bye.
I was looking over at my agenda and that seemed to have fallen off somehow. I spoke with the gentleman for quite a bit. I think he'd be a good addition. Been in town about 3 years. He and his wife, like Wakefield, wants to give back, has some time, a lot of years in industry, very, management opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. So Rick Pearson, who has been unable to attend during the COVID era, lack of Zoom capability, et cetera, will be leaving the board in April. So theoretically, if we recommend, if the town council goes forward and approves the applicant, we'll lose Rick and then Joe will step in.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it up. Someone's got a child they need to take care of.
When is town meeting this year?
I've seen nothing on it.
I think it's May 8th. Is it May 8th?
We have an election in the meantime.
Okay. Well, just if it's May 8th, then the April meeting, it might be important. I don't know. Is there anything that needs to go to town for decision?
Only if we come up with a line item in the budget, but the budget just got approved. So I think the process for that would be if Mr. Mayo if we can't identify existing funds, I'm not sure a line item can be added to the budget at this point because they've already gone through FinCom and Town Council, which I believe then they go to town meeting for approval after that.
So going back to the grant, theoretically, we get that through the state and it gets approved, and town council may not have the opportunity to vote on that line item in a match. If the state approves it, it might have to go to town meeting.
No, I wouldn't have to go to town meeting.
For a match? Okay.
I don't know if the town, it depends on if there are monies and where they come from.
Yeah.
I don't know where the line is on town council approval, but we can find that out also.
I'm sure 20K is not hitting that threshold, right?
Well,
Probably.
you know, it's like we talked about a few months ago with Dan's project down at Vets Field. It's certainly, I think it's appropriate to give the town council visibility. Because, you know, we went before them with the Patty Heights project and it got a little bit delayed because there was some concern about having standard benches within the town of Wakefield.
Yep.
They actually have a new committee that's even around the lake. It's Benches and Structures Committee.
Yes,
Has to pass through that, believe it or not.
yes.
There was a cheese and chocolate department at Johnson and Wales.
Sign me up for that.
And then, I have to ask, how did you find out about that?
One of the deans was in my doctoral program at Northeastern
Okay.
back in my higher ed days. He's like, yeah, I'm the dean of cheese and chocolate. Wow, that's awesome.
A noble calling. Okay, hearing
Benches.
nothing, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Is
So
right.
moved.
Second.
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch. Stay healthy.
Okay.
Stay safe.
Thank you.